Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis wrote, quote, "Sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants. Yet when it comes to access to public records, Massachusetts is in the shade. Transparency watchdog groups have given the state Fs when it comes to providing access to public documents. Bay State ranks 49th out of 50 for the time it takes to respond to public records requests. And can you believe the state police demanded $2.7 million for copies of their databases of breathalyzer test results, which other states provide for free? Given the scandals in the state drug lab, DCF, the probation department, many believe we need more transparency, not less. A bill aimed at strengthening the state's public records law is making its way through the House, though critics say it's creating new problems. Joining me now is the man whose office oversees public records, Secretary of the Commonwealth, William Galvin. Bill Galvin, it's good to see you. You've made clear that if the legislature doesn't do what you think it should, you'll proceed to put a question before the voters. What does the legislature need to do? Give me a short list of those things.
Well, I think we agree what the remedies are, which would be cap on fees. We agree that there has to be some ability to get court costs, which would be an incentive for agencies to participate.
If they refuse to give the information, you're ultimately deemed to have been entitled to the information.
Correct.
We're one of the very few states that doesn't allow that.
You can't get costs of court. So the remedies are pretty clear. I went to the hearing. The COCOT bill is a good starting step.
That's the state rep who's
he's the chair of the committee, and his Senate colleague is Senator Lovely. She, too, is supportive of the bill. I met with both of them individually. I think they're both sincerely trying to get a bill through. But I think as the bill is starting to move, obviously people are starting to understand the complications that we've experienced as the enforcer through the years.
Like what?
Well, there are fiefdoms, and I'm not trying to demean anybody, but there are agencies and entities, all of whom have some vested interest in why they don't like to give up records. And
even though they're required to.
Even though they're required, and even though they've been ordered to by my office in countless cases. And so as time marches on, we'll see. I think I spoke to Representative COCOT today. He's very optimistic, so am I. But if he is unsuccessful, I have a deadline of August 5th to submit an initiative petition for the ballot in 2016.
By constitutional mandate.
By the Constitution. Yeah. And I intend to meet that deadline if the legislature is unable to act.
But even though I think there's a consensus, Bill Galvin, that the state's law is, if not the weakest, one of the weakest, have you not been part of the problem? You're the enforcement guy, and your critics, and many editorial pages have said, yeah, the law's weak, but the guy who enforces it hasn't used what's available to him.
Well, I think that's been disproven. In fact, since I was last here, one of the critics, which was the Pioneer Institute, did, and I appreciate it, publicly apologize for some of the misstatements they'd made about my record, that when we sought enforcement, we didn't get it. Moreover, I think I've been advocating changes in the law for many, many years, and as the current effort is showing, you uncover lots of constituencies there. We've got now the law down to where we're getting 89% of the time the requester is getting the records, the order in their favor. We sped up the handling of the cases so that it's, generally speaking, an under 60-day process. That incorporates the first 10 days that they're at the local level. So I think I'm not saying everything we did was perfect. I won't say that, but I think we've made a lot of progress, and I think we tried very hard to do what we could.
I mentioned this state police bill for $2.7 million for these breathalyzer records. They later deemed, well, we only need $1.2 million. In the middle of all that, they won an award for the most secretive agency in the United States, not just in Massachusetts. But the other day, you apparently ruled that the state police are exempt from a law requiring police to keep free public log of arrest. How's that being a strong enforcer?
The problem we have, and we discussed this before, is the Corey law. The Corey law has certain protections.
Criminal records.
I'm sorry, I won't talk in acronyms, but the Corey law, which we don't control, and we don't control the enforcement. In fact, Attorney General Healy herself has acknowledged that we are bound by what the Corey agency says. They determine what, in fact, is protected on some of these issues. When you say we've ruled, basically we are bound to follow the law. The exceptions are many that are in the public records law. Most of the efforts that are now being discussed are not about the exceptions as much as they're about the enforcement authority, which will go a long way. I have said that I think there should be some discussion of it. For instance, in the case of the investigative exception, there needs to be a suggestion, at least, that the Corey agency shouldn't be giving police departments the ability to protect their own members. There should be I suggested to the committee perhaps having the prosecutor in the area make some decisions there would be a better idea. That's one fix to the exceptions.
Is that in your proposal?
We're still circulating our proposal.
But one thing that I don't understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, is neither your proposal, should it go to the ballot, nor the legislature's changes are only in the nation's status is one that exempts the legislature, the governor's office, and the judiciary. Well, Florida, I mean, you know, Florida, not exactly an example of openness. The governor doesn't even allow his staff to say the words climate change. They have all three.
But let's talk about the governor. The governor's exemption is by the Supreme Court decision.
How about the legislature?
In Lambert, the legislature has exempted itself.
So why haven't you proposed that they not be exempted?
When I spoke before the legislature, I said I think I could see an exemption for perhaps deliberations. You shouldn't be able to get that a legislator tried to negotiate with another legislator to craft a bill. But I don't see an exemption, for instance, for employment practices, contracts, and other things like that.
That's not in your current draft, will it
be? The problem with me trying to do that is my draft has to pass muster to be on the ballot, which gets by Article 48. So I don't want to create issues. For instance, the judiciary is also exempt. That would definitely create an issue for Article 48. I mean, I prefer to do this by the legislature because I think you can do things there that you can't do on the ballot. But I'm saying if all else fails, I intend to take this to the ballot.
Bill Galvin, Secretary of State, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you again soon.